Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Amateur Repair Time. Now, if you didn't see last week's video, we have been working on this Ingraham clock that I got and a whole bunch of stuff that I bought off of a guy's family. He had passed away and his son sold me all of his clock stuff. So this guy was a old school clock guy. The stuff was in the biggest mess I've ever seen at his house. It was just literally thrown everywhere, all over his house and all through his shop. And there was just tons and tons of clock equipment. So it's kind of how I got, it wasn't the first clocks that I bought, but it was most of the clocks that I bought. So a lot of the clocks that I own, I got from that deal. And I've fixed like one or two of them so far. So I've been trying to get back into it. And a couple weeks ago, I got a ultrasonic cleaner, which has really helped me clean parts out of these clocks. So this particular one is an Ingraham. I think it's from about 1886, something like that, somewhere around through there. And I've been trying to get this sucker going. Cleaned it all up. It's had a few little issues, but we're ready to put the movement back together. I put a bushing in it last time. If you didn't see that video, go see it. And you can see kind of how the stuff looked before I started messing with it. And also see a little bit more of the story about how I found it. But today we need to put everything back in the movement, get the movement mounted back on the back plate, put it back in the case, and all of that good stuff. So I'm waiting on some parts. Hopefully I'll have before the video is over. Ordered new glass for the dial, which is, look at that. It's black. I like that. And again, this is from the 1800s. It's pretty old. I think everything we've got here is good to go. Nothing appeared to be too worn or anything. We just need to get it all back together. I've got these 3 posts here I have to put in and then hook the springs back so that we get the strike and everything working. And then we need to hang a pendulum on it and all of that. So let's see what we can do. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this plate back off the top plate and then lay out everything where I believe it goes on the movement, and then we'll slowly put it back together. Okay, so I think I've got everything placed in there where it goes. If I don't, I guess I'll end up having to take it back apart and do it again. But I think I do. I'm not sure about this one. I think that's right. This one. I think that's right. So we'll try putting it all together. So this plate is going to slide down here over the center wheel, main wheel, minute wheel, whatever it's called. And then from there, I have to slowly try to put everything in its place. I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. Tricky, tricky, tricky. Let's see if I can see it good enough with my eyeballs. I should have put this in before I put the plate on. 3 of the things in there have springs on them, so that's always tricky. And then this one has to kind of go right in the middle of everything. And it has to be on the outside of the top plate. Yeah, I should have done that while it wasn't on there yet. So you have to have this in here, like so. It's like a big jigsaw puzzle. And like I said, the 3 bars, I guess I'll call them bars, I don't know what they're called, have springs on them, so you have to get them just right. If they pop out of their pivot, I call it a pivot, I think that's right. This is one of them. The spring means that they will go all over the place. So it's kind of hard to see where everything is. You just got to take your time. Try to get everything just right. And eventually it will all line up and go right where it's supposed to go. And we'll all be so happy. And then the whole time too, you got to make sure that you don't bang yourself a good one with one of the mainsprings, and cut your fingers off. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. But do I 100% know it's not going to happen? Well, no. It might happen. All right, so that one is in there. The two mainsprings are in there. The two pins down here are in there. So we're kind of just working our way up. That post, yeah, the post is in there. So the main wheel, I think this is called, or the minute wheel, it's in there. So this is a big problem. This second wheel is way off. All right, so it's in there. And this second wheel is in there. So what is hanging us up? That's in there. So you kind of just fish around till you find one somewhere is like hitting the plate, and that's why it's stuck up in the air, because that particular one is hitting the plate. So you kind of gotta go around and figure out which one is stuck hitting the plate. And it's usually one of the ones it's usually the next one up, you know. And whenever you find that one, you pop it where it goes, and it usually makes everything go down just a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And of course you don't force anything because it's all pretty delicate and will only go one way. Yeah, so it appears to be this one. It's a little better if you've got, they make these little hooks and stuff that you can grab them with and pull them and push them and that. So it's a little easier if you have those. All right, so that one went there. You saw the whole thing went down just a little bit. So now we've got this one here, which is the hour. It actually seems like it's in about the right spot. This case wheel is off a little bit. Yeah, and sometimes you can do it where it will move a little bit and pop a couple of them out and screw you all up. Like I think we're back to this one being slightly off. Okay, it's this one. I know you can't see perfectly, but you get the picture, right? You guys get the picture, and girls. You men and women get the picture. I can see where this would be very frustrating to some people, though. To me, I think it's kind of fun. That one to move just slightly. Oh, it's in there. That one's in there. And that one's in there. I'm missing something here. Okay, this one is completely out. This is the one that we put the bushing on, actually. But we already know that it fits because we tested it last time. So that went pretty good. Escape wheel's in. Now this is one of the pins with the spring on it. It's in. The other pin with the spring on it. That's not quite ready yet. So this side, they're all in right now. This is the strike side here. We're still playing with it a little bit. Oh, we might have popped some out doing that. This is the type of thing where people can give you advice and it doesn't really help. You got to just get your own technique figured out. All right, well, I got to pick it up and play with it a little bit. Okay, folks, so I've got it all back together. I don't have the pins in it yet, so I'm being very, very careful because this thing's basically like a spring-loaded trap, but it's literally. But we showed on this one before, if I wind this up, the time side is working really good, right? This is without any oil or anything. Okay, now the I got to be really careful here. Trying to put a little wind on it. All right. So this is the strike side. So as the second hand turns, as the minute hand turns around, there is a little spring underneath it. This is really hard to see, but whenever you get down to like at half an hour, it's going to turn a spring, which is going to make this thing move. Bam! So it would have just made a noise. Or actually, I think I'm on the hour. 2, 3. I'm not sure it's working perfectly. We may have to bend some of those pieces at the top, the little legs, but it's at least all of the wheels are moving. The count wheel is moving. The little hammer is moving. Let's see if it stops when it gets to that little indention there. No, it missed it. No, it got it. No, it missed it. All right, so we obviously got some adjustments we need to do, but basically all of the gear works are running. We just need to, it's going to entail bending some of these levers and things up here. All right. But I think we're pretty decent. So I'm going to go ahead and put pins in it to hold it together on the 5 things so that we don't have to worry about it all popping apart. And we'll move on from there. Okay, so it was actually fine. What was happening was, since I was letting it just run, the escape wheel just run and run, the minute hand was twisting really fast. So before it could chime all of its hours, it was back around to where it needed to do it again. So if I slowly, this hole here is pointed kind of where the minute hand would be. So we're at about, I don't know if I can grab this from inside. Yeah, we're at about 35 after, something like that. If I let this slip a little bit, this is much faster than it would usually run. Now we're at like 45 after. When we get to an hour, you will see this bar that I'm right in the middle of the screen there lift up this bar out of the count wheel. Right, so it's coming up. You'll see it start moving. Or we may be on the half hour. Yeah, we're on the half hour. So at the half hour, it hits. All right. So it chimed at the half hour. You just get one ding at the half hour on this clock, I suppose. And that's done with a different spring down in there. This is all complex, I understand. I don't completely understand it either. But so when that hole gets back up to where it's basically facing up, it will do the hour strike. 40 after, 45 after, 50 after. Okay. So yeah, so whenever it gets up near it, you'll see this bar right in the middle here start lifting. And it will lift this bar out of the count wheel. See it lift it, and it has lifted it out. So now it's going to keep striking until it gets to where it can't, where it falls all the way down in. And then it stops it. So it's adjusted properly. I was just letting it run fast because I don't have the verge on it. Which brings me to, we need to mess with the verge. All right, so the verge on this one is called a deadbeat verge. See how both sides are like curved up? It's a little trickier to get these right than a recoil verge. So the way this particular one is made, the back of this pallet catches the tooth. And then when it swings back the other way, it's going to let the front of that pallet catch the next tooth. Then it's going to swing back, and the back of that pallet on the right is going to catch the next tooth. And just on and on and on. I marked one of the teeth so I could watch it as it goes around to make sure that it's stepping through all of them. But I've been reading online about these, and these are a little fussy. Basically, that verge has to sit a certain distance into the teeth, and it has to have a certain angle on these pallets. The angle generally runs through that center thing there, so that whenever it's engaged, it's kind of hard to see, but if you look, that left pallet that is engaged in the tooth is aimed right at that center pivot. If it's off, it's real close. And I think it never engages fully like that. It always goes about like that because of how far the pendulum is swinging to the left or the right. So as it has swung, bam, it's aimed right at that middle thing. And then when it lets go and goes back the other way, so it's swung back this way, the verge on the right side is just slightly off. I mean, not the verge, the pallet on the right side is just slightly off. So it doesn't aim right through the middle. It's just to the right of the middle a little bit. There's a 2% difference. And you don't have to adjust all that. It's already kind of made if you have the verge that came with it. So the left one, when it's engaged, you can draw a line from the angle of the pallet, and it'll go pretty much straight through the center of the escape wheel. And the right one, when it's engaged, the same, but it'll miss the center of the escape wheel just a little bit. If you got it too low, what'll happen is it'll skip a couple teeth and you'll go too fast. If you've got it too high, what'll happen is it'll stop running. It'll get caught. So you got to get it just right. So how do you adjust it? There is this little bar. That little thing there is a little pin that the verge slides down on. I call it the crutch too. I think the crutch is like this part of it, and the verge is that part of it. The pallets are the end where it actually goes into the teeth. But there is a little post here that sticks out that the verge mounts on. That little post is riveted on, but you can move it with some force. So you can move it up or down to move the verge into or out of the teeth. And typically you wouldn't have to mess with it, but the one on this one, it was all screwed up and filthy and just looked all messed up. So hopefully I've got it right. If not, maybe we can tweak it a little bit. But you won't really know until you get a weight hanging on it, and then you have to get it hanging vertically. They make a little stand you can get to mount a movement on whenever you're testing it like this. But I don't have a stand or anything. But I did a while back order some pendulums, and I don't know if this is the right size. This thing's actually pretty heavy. But it's an old Ingraham style bob. Something's hitting. What is hitting? Oh. They said these are also very particular about having them in beat, so you got to get them pretty level. Okay, so we're ready to mount it back up in the case, though, and just see what we've got. We'll be able to get to most of it from the front inside of the case. So I'm going to mount it on here, and then go ahead and mount this back in the case. So from here on out, we'll be messing with it through the face. All right, so I got it mounted back in there. I was mentioning before that this, on the previous video, this side is split. I need to put some glue in that and clamp it back together, but we'll get to that. I think I might go buy a clamp tomorrow, I'm going to the flea market in the morning, and I'll get me a nice Jorgensen clamp or something to clamp it back together with. So I've mounted it in there, and I went ahead and hung the pendulum down in there. Now the movement is mounted up here. The bottom of it is right about here. Okay, and that pendulum leader hangs down to about here, and then the bob is hanging on it down here. So they designed these cabinets so that there was just enough room for the pendulum to swing back and forth. And on the back, there's no bottom on it. So you can reach in the bottom on the back and mess with the pendulum. And there's also this here. You may have seen that on the previous video. There's a little wire that comes down. It's attached to the count wheel, the little, I guess they call that the lever on the count wheel. And so if you, from the back, were to push up on that, it would push the lever out of the count wheel to make it start chiming. Now the purpose of that would be so you could set the hour correctly. So if it was on 2, you would push up on that. It would go ahead and strike 8 or whatever it's on. After it was done, you'd do it again and it would strike 9, and you'd keep doing that until you got it to the correct hour. You wouldn't have that problem if you kept the thing wound, but if you moved it or if it was unwound. So again, this is a deadbeat movement, and this is amateur repair time, people. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but it's a little different than they are on most of them. It sounds a little different, and it has a different, it moves a little different. So I think I've got it about right. We'll set it moving, and we'll watch the escape wheel. It's kind of an interesting thing. I can't tell if I've got it in beat. I think I do. Sounds a little bit off, but I think it's just because it's a deadbeat movement. So you're trying to get it even. It may be a little bit off, I can't tell. You can adjust it by making it more or less level, and you can adjust it by bending this crutch here. So I think it's coming up on, see the little hole in the minute wheel there, or the post. So I think the minute hand's up like here. I think it's coming up where it's going to strike here pretty soon, so we may be able to see it strike. But I'll let you hear and see the deadbeat movement, the deadbeat escapement. Now the way this particular one is designed, if you were to turn this wheel, you would raise or lower the plumb bob, which would make it slower or faster. And you get to that wheel through the front of the face here. It's just a little thumb wheel that you can turn faster or slower. Let's see if it'll strike for us. Looks like it's going to be on maybe 10 o'clock. I've heard of watching paint dry. I've never heard of watching a clock tick. I don't know if this is good YouTube material or not. I just want it to naturally chime so we can see. I think that is pointing about where the hand would be. So we got like a minute or something. On a recoil movement, when this turns, it will move back just a little bit each time. It's kind of like it swings a little bit. It's a little more forgiving. This one's a dead beat because it's like it doesn't recoil at all. I think it kind of has a soft tone too because it's got a little piece of felt on the hammer. And it's not hitting a bell, it's hitting a coil. What a thing of beauty. 130 years old or something like that. Clean it up a little bit, put a bushing in it. Tick-Tock, baby. All right, folks, so a little bit of time has went by. I ordered a glass bezel for this. I just ordered a flat one. When I got this, it actually had the bezel in the glass in it. It was just all shattered, and it was flat. So I ordered a replacement. I think it's the right size. And the way that it is held in here is there is some little solder dabs that hold this ring in. And that's how they keep the glass in 4 places there. So I'm going to very carefully desolder that, pop that ring out, put the glass in, put it back, put a little solder back on it, and that should hold it in place. Got it in there, got some solder on it to hold it in place. I'm going to clean up the dial. I found 4 old screws that I was able to put in. Remember when I got this, the face was off of it, so I don't know what the original screws were. They had busted up that one a little bit, but there was a second hole there that they've added at some point. So I'm going to clean it off a little bit, and then I'm going to try to look online and see if I can see a picture of maybe what the shape of the original hands were. See if I can find anything like a black face clock like this on their catalogs or something, and just see what the shape of the hands was, and see if I have anything even similar. All right, folks. Well, I didn't have any hands that were the right color. I think they're supposed to match the lettering, the numbering. But I didn't have anything even similar to that. So I put some black ones on there for now, and they're not the right design either. I just don't have the correct one. So it's one of those things where you kind of need to get some vintage ones, you know. I couldn't find any that were the exact right ones, but it's easy enough to swap those. And it's a small thing, you know. It's not as easy to read because the hands are black and the face is black, but whenever I find the correct ones, I'll put them on there. The design of the handles is also a little off. On these Ingraham ones, they were like a reverse trident. I didn't really find a picture of this exact model, but there were several that had a black face that I saw, and they had the little trident ones. So I think either gold ones would look really well, or these are actually kind of like the numbering is almost like a green, as you can see. So they'll pop up eventually. I've been getting in all kinds of parts and stuff for them. Maybe I'll find them on a movement or something that I don't need. But this will do for now. I put a little silver, gold, you know, the little center, whatever they call that little washer that goes there. And then I put a new pin on it. It's a little bit long, but I think it's all right. I ordered a new key for it. And by the way, I didn't order it just for this. I had a bunch of other stuff ordered. So I got an Ingraham key. That's pretty cool. It fits it well. And then there were a couple different types of bobs. This is the one that's on it. The I for Ingraham. And that's probably correct. And this is another Ingraham one. But I don't know for sure if it had this kind or that kind. So I just left the one on it that's on it. It seems to be working good like that. So now all that's left is I need to watch it for a while and adjust the faster or slower adjustment on the face of the dial. But nice little clock. I actually let it run for about 4 days with no hands on it. And I put a little toothpick in it. And it seemed, I couldn't tell if it was keeping perfect time or whatever, but it didn't seem like it was way off. So I think I'm at a good starting point to adjust it. It's good getting the bezel back on it. Oh, and I did fix this. It's still split just a little bit. I clamped it as best as I could and I glued it. And that got it back up where it's level now too. If you listen, it's in beat. Tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. So I'm going to call this done until I find better hands. But what a cool little clock. I really like it, and I just think it really looks nice. Very classy looking, almost gothic looking with the black face and the just the design of the cabinet. This was one of the ones that I really liked whenever I bought that bunch of them from that gentleman. I really thought this was something special, so I'm glad I was able to save it and get it up and running and doing its thing. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be doing more clocks. I've been doing a bunch of them actually. While I was waiting for parts for this, I was working on some other ones, but I'll put those videos up eventually. I'm trying not to do too many clocks in a row because they don't do as well. People prefer the radio videos, and the record player videos are the ones that are the most successful on this channel. But I like doing clocks too. That's why it's called Amateur Repair Time. So there it is. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, if you did like me working on this clock and you watched this far in, you're probably into clocks. So we can take a trip back in time, and I can show you another one that I worked on just a little while back. Check this video out. I'll see you on the next one. Hope you enjoyed it.